pleasant people.
That should be a warning right there.
Speak for yourself.
80% of our audience has no interest in water. They're just here for the show. It's just personality. They just come for the personality.
Should we start a YouTube?
It would be the most boring reality TV show in history. It'll be called The Committee, and it's just gonna be terribly boring.
Yeah. You could probably make an entire sitcom based around a committee.
Oh, 100% you could.
I think I've been on a few of those committees.
Yeah, we've all been on a few too many of those committees.
Paul? Oh, hi. Oh, perfect. There we go. Maureen and I have. Nice to meet you. Yeah. We'll see.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for coming today. Yeah, we'll go around and do introductions.
Great.
I'm not in charge of this meeting. Green, how are you?
I am darn good, Paul.
Yes.
Committee meetings this week. I missed you guys on Tuesday.
Yeah, we
Someone else.
kept the record.
Oh, good. It's nothing too groundbreaking, but hopefully it's interesting.
How are you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you teaching this semester?
No, I usually have our big fields where we have like
Let's see,
a
we've
big
got
chunk in the summer and then a big.
County,
So I
Moscow,
don't have to teach any.
Uvi.
I deal with students
County.
enough that it is.
Yeah.
And I have to be charged of them.
Are you out there, the den mother in the field?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Might work.
I try not to be. Yes,
For assistant.
but I'm not their friend either.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. It's been a week, but it's good.
You know, I've got to get my op-ed piece in within summit.
Mm. Yeah. Some of those,
But the good thing is, you know, this keynote was here before, so.
right, it's a little easier to recycle some stuff. Yeah.
Is he a local,
What's that?
the keynote?
No, he's out of Toronto.
Ah, okay. I feel like I've heard his name before.
Yeah, he was here 2015.
Yeah, okay.
But he's gotten a couple more awards for some of his environmental journalism.
Yeah, we're at 2-1. I think we've got a 2-1. We're just
Very
missing,
unassuming.
we don't have any representatives from Washington State.
Looking forward to it.
Jeff cannot make it.
Okay, and I don't suspect we'll see Jason.
I don't expect to see Jason. But we do have,
1, 2, 3.
Kara said she was flaking and only calling in.
we don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Say, Paul.
I'm sorry, that was really out of line, wasn't it?
I'm here, I'm here.
I'll
Just
retract that.
not in
Oh, she's
person.
listening to
She can hear you, Paul.
I got too much to do after this meeting. I can't.
Eh,
I
okay.
can't skip away.
Yeah, we have every voting
Yeah.
entity except for WA.
All right, let's do it then. We're gonna go ahead and call our September meeting for the Police Basin Aquifer Committee to order. And thank everybody for coming. I'm Tyler Palmer. I am the Public Works Director and Deputy City Administrator for the City of Moscow and the current PBAC Chair. We'll go through and do introductions for members of the board, and then we will jump online, and then we'll introduce our guests who we have with us here in the audience. So I'm gonna start going to my left.
I'm Mike Pompel. I'm the Executive Director of PBAC.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm Ashton Church. I'm communications and outreach intern for PBAC.
Sean Wells, Public Works Director, City of Pullman.
Lana Cohen, UI Research.
Eileen McCall can't get rid of me.
Paul Kimmel, Latah County Representative to PBAC.
All right, I'm gonna jump on and grab our board members that are on the call. First, let's start with our staff. Steve Robichon. All right, for those of you who don't speak Chipmunk, that was Steve Robichon, who is our technical advisor. Steve, you have some great audio going on and we really appreciate it. We're gonna ask you to sing the Lollipop Guild here in a little bit. Commissioner Handy.
Yeah, Tom Handy, Whitman County Commissioner from beautiful downtown Tensed this afternoon.
Ooh, fun. Counselor Weller,
Nathan Weller, Pullman City Council.
welcome. Patrick,
Patrick Cabbage, Washington State Department of Ecology Water Resources Program.
welcome, Patrick. I think we have Chris on the call.
Chris Beard, Washington State Department of Ecology Water Resources Program.
Great, thanks, Chris. Welcome. How about you, Kara?
Yes, Kara Haley, City of Pullman.
All right. I think I've grabbed all of our board members online, so let's go to our guests. Let's start here.
David Watkins, JUV Engineers. Michael Booth, Stantec Consulting.
Vicky Waters, Alton. Robin Dimmer, Alton.
Lucine Hasalakian, I'm a recent graduate with a PhD of Water Resources, Soil and Water Systems Department, University of Idaho.
Great.
Maria Steiner, current Water Resources Master Student. Goodbye.
Jean Elliott, community member.
Okay, I'm gonna jump back online and catch some of our visitors that are online. We've got Carolina.
Hi, I'm Carolina. I work with Professor Yambo, Washington State University, but I'm an international student from Brazil. I'm here to learn with you guys.
Great, welcome. Brad?
Thank you.
This is Brad Phelps with Jacobs Engineering.
Is that everybody online?
I think that's everybody.
Okay, great, we made it through. Well,
Glad the room's big enough.
yeah, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody participating. We've got minutes that were distributed by Mike for our August meeting. So I would entertain a motion for approval unless anyone has any comments or edits.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Great, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, we will have our minutes stand approved for August 15th meeting. Our third item on the agenda today is public comment for any items that are not on today's agenda. So we'll open that up now for anyone who has anything they want to share. Okay, it's not always our most popular agenda item, but we're gonna keep it there regardless. Let's get to the meat of the thing, which is our unfinished business. We've got our Idaho, an update for our funding. As you all know, our big push right now, which is very exciting, is our work to get statement of qualifications out for further exploring the Clearwater alternative as a supplemental water supply. That document, just some updates since the last time we met on that document. It went to the Idaho Water Resource Board. The Idaho Water Resource Board prepared a draft agreement that went to their finance subcommittee last week. 2 weeks ago? Last week.
The 11th.
Yeah, on the 11th.
Seems like a month ago. It was last week.
And that was approved unanimously by that committee and passed forward to the full committee. So with that approval, then we will be able to come back to this committee at next month's meeting with a proposed, we'll have hammered out the processes by which we will have that interaction. Their contract is with the city of Moscow. They need an Idaho entity to run that project. And so the SOQ will go out through the city, but the plan is to have all of the details about that SOQ and the financial interaction between IDWR, the city of Moscow, and the Pollution Based Aquifer Committee and the city of Moscow, so that we all know what that's going to look like. And so we'll bring that forward at the next meeting so that we can then release that SOQ and get it out the door. So just to prime the pump a little bit for that conversation, we have 182,500 that has been committed by the Idaho Division of Water Resources. And so those funds will be expended first. It's a reimbursement is the process that they use. And so I'll be working with my finance department to figure out the best mechanism for us to do that. As we have discussed, we don't want to let that dollar amount dictate the scope of the project. We want to get answered what we need to have answered. And so as we put out the SOQ and make a selection, then in the scoping process, we will determine what the appropriate scope for the project is and get cost estimation so that we'll know if and how much PBAC may need to supplement. And then we can work toward making sure that we have the arrangements in place. It shouldn't be terribly complicated. We've had Moscow has administered projects for PBAC in the past. And so that financial interaction between the two entities has broadly been figured out. And so I don't anticipate any sort of complication. So it's just going to be more getting it out there. We are putting together a proposed list of reviewers for that SOQ. That's moving forward. We did get communication from the Nez Perce tribe. We had presented to the tribal executive council, and we'd already received and incorporated the comments that we had received from the Nez Perce tribe staff. But we wanted to give the tribal council themselves additional time if they had comments that they wanted to make directly. We got communication back from their legal counsel this week indicating that they did not have any additional comments, that the executive council did not have additional comments. And so we'll keep them involved and really appreciate their help through that process. And so, yeah, I think we've got everything teed up to have final approval from IDWR, have the processes in place and to release that SOQ. And so after next month's meeting, we should be able to kick that off. So it's very exciting. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Mr. Chairman, just any interesting terms or conditions they put on us?
No, they really
standard.
just, it's pretty standard. They based all of the terms and conditions on our own RFQ or on our SOQ. So the SOQ was the basis for that. The only comment that we had was that they had a condition in there. Their language about the time period for performance wasn't entirely clear. It could have been interpreted as 1 year from the time that the board was approving rather than a 1 year project that we anticipated. So we asked them to loosen that language up a little bit, as we didn't want there to be any sort of disagreement about when the deliverables were due. And we didn't want that to be dictated by their approval date rather than our contract date from the SOQ. But otherwise it was very standard.
No match.
No, they'll have a holdback amount. They'll have a holdback amount until the deliverables, the final report. And that's when they can they'll pay out a final amount. And then, yeah, they're certainly in their expectation that they very clearly expressed is that they want this to be a funding effort that comes from all parties. And so I think that for now, PBAC participating with wherever that scope lands is going to be important, but then also we'll continue to work with our Washington partners. And yeah, work through that. So the SOQ review subcommittee, I've got some proposed participants here that we wanted to discuss today. We're trying to keep, these committees can get a little bit, if they get too big, it can be difficult to navigate. And also, I know this is probably not something everyone's going to be jumping for joy and trying to jump in on. So what I've got now is just our two PBAC staff, Steve Robichon and Mike. And then we've got myself. We wanted to invite our city council representatives from the two cities. And then Sean, either you or Kara from the city of Pullman, we were hoping would be able to participate. We reached out to the Nez Perce tribe, and they had indicated that Ken Clark would be the appropriate person to have participate, who's also been participating in our technical subcommittee. He's their water manager.
Ken Clark's on the call now.
Oh, great. Welcome, Ken. And then we thought it might be nice to invite Kevin Gardas. He's got a lot of historical context for this, and I thought he would be an excellent person to have participate in that process. So just open that up to the committee for discussion. If there's any thoughts on that list, if there are additions, people who'd rather not, I'd like to get that put together so that we know where we're heading.
Just appreciation to IDWR, Michelle, and the board. Thank you for the support.
I will Hearing no comments, I'll send out just an email to all of the proposed participants. And that way, John, you can discuss with your staff who you want to have participate, and then we'll reach out to our city council folk and see if that's something they think they'll be able to commit to. All right.
Hey, real quick, just, I like the idea. Given some of the challenges with the current email that, we discussed at the, last meeting, if you could also follow up, other than just email, that would be great until we kind of are able to navigate what's happening in our system.
Yeah, sounds good, Nathan. We'll make sure and follow up otherwise, and we'll formalize this at the next meeting as we just formalize those processes. But we'd love it if you are able to participate as a reviewer for that statement of qualifications. Great.
Kara will handle it from our end.
Okay. Thanks.
Did she hear that or?
She heard that here, yes.
She heard that appropriate delegation. All right. Any questions or comments about that? All right, this is exciting, you guys. I don't want to underestimate how exciting this is. This is a really cool process. We're able to give a presentation. The regional quarterly breakfast last week was started back up. It was something that used to happen quite a bit, and it's started back up. And so that's entities from both sides of the border, leadership from both sides of the border, and several of us participated in a presentation about and several others were at the presentation, and I felt like it went well. It was well received. I really do feel like we've got a good understanding from our leadership in our communities, and it really feels like everybody's rowing in the same direction. So this is an encouraging time. All right, our second item is Professor Langman's proposal for passive aquifer recharge. Mike, you want to tee that up?
Yeah, this has been discussed for a few months now, and it was brought up in the either June or July meeting, but not too long ago, but enough that I don't remember which one it was. And some questions came up, and a lot of that was just the fact that this is a good chunk of our annual budget if we decide to move forward. So the leadership team met August 22nd, 3 weeks ago, to talk about this project in the context of our budget. Additionally, there were a couple of questions that Jeff responded to, and I'm gonna interject that the committee has received dribs and drabs of email from me this week, and that's because of the nature that it's been a busy first half of the week, and I apologize for that. Clearly, a meeting packet would have been more appropriate in this case, because you got this final thing, you got the budget, and you got a couple other things. So apologies for that. We'll try to keep a tighter rein on that going forward. I would like to say that Jeff Lanigan is unable to make it today, but he asked me to relay that the project has his full support at this point.
Okay. Sean, any additional comments from the perspective of the technical committee?
That'd be Kara.
Oh, Kara.
Yeah, it would be Jeff, but I was there when we had that meeting. I know when we walked away from it, it has my support as well. A couple of things that I'm appreciative of when the group that was mentioned met was we had a little bit of feedback for Jeff Langman. I took a little bit of time today to look through the updated proposal, and I thought he did a good job of updating kind of what we were asking for. One of those was, he wrote a statement about quarterly status reports will be presented to PBAC. So one of the feedback out of that was just making sure that the grad student working on this would have good engagement with PBAC, and so there would be some communication there. So I appreciated that was added. The other thing that I think is cool that people might not pick up on, just, I don't know how many of you spent the time to read all 15 pages, but there's a few different things that are going to be analyzed from the sampling. One set's going to go off to the University of Miami because it's kind of specialized, but Anatech Labs in Moscow is gonna do the PFAS analysis, and then Jan Bull with WSU is who they were planning to send the water samples to for measuring the stable isotopes. So I think that's kind of cool that there's a lot of local collaboration going on there as well. So I'm excited about the proposal. I think it would be a worthwhile effort. And that was kind of the takeaway from the group that met as a whole. So I'm in support of it.
Great. Yeah, I participated on that group and I agree. I felt like the questions that we had from our previous meeting when we discussed this were answered, and I thought answered adequately, and I do think it's a worthwhile project for us to engage in. Are there any other comments or questions from the committee?
I do have a comment that there's, if you're ready for a motion, there's a couple of options. One would be a motion to fund the first year of the project, which would be the amount of $91,653. The other possibility would be to fund the full 2-year project. So it's just, we would only spend the half the money the first year, but just to think about and be cognizant that this is a 2-year project and it's a little over $180,000 project we're talking about.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll preface in there too. I support, at least at this venture, approving both years, but there is language in the proposal that they'll come back and talk to us before we cut a second check. And we would have an opportunity to potentially stop if we wanted to at that point. So I'm happy to make a motion to approve the proposal as presented for both years of proposed work, I guess.
Great. I have a motion from Kara.
Chairman, well, maybe let some, I'll second,
Mhm.
but just clarification. So we do have an off ramp. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so they'll with the way that it's written, even with the approval of, we can approve up to that 2 years for the project, but they will come and present to us at 1 year. And if we feel like either that's enough or that we're not getting what we hope to get out of it, we can at that point discontinue and not have the second year of work be done. So that is an option for us at that year too, Paul. Okay.
Yeah, I think the intent would be, we really ought to do both years. There should be no reason not to, but there is a little bit of language and disclaimer there if something crazy happened, but.
Well, and with the way that this is
important to show that we're intending to support the full thing.
I agree, Kara. I think with the way that this is structured, that's really where our value comes in, is with that second year.
Deliverables.
Yeah.
Year 2, right?
Yeah. Sean, did you have something else?
Yeah, given the fact that we have yet to talk about the budget, how does that look like for year 2? We don't have approved budget for year 2 yet. And how can the committee lock ourselves into a commitment? Assuming there's an off ramp, I'm okay, but knowing that we don't have an approved budget for year 2 yet.
Yeah, so we can approve this as, this is a 2-year project, and so we routinely approve projects that are going to be more than 1 year. We have the reserves, so we have the finances to cover this with more than enough to supplement the anticipated supply study. And so the thought was that we don't really run any financial risk as far as not having the funds to cover this. That would be even without the additional contributions from the entities. So I think financially we're in pretty safe shape to approve a 2-year project, especially with a 1-year off ramp, so that if we do get to budget time next year and we start crunching numbers and something chaotic has happened,
Right.
we would have the ability to say, yeah, sorry, we just can't afford to keep this going.
Back chaos, yes.
That's what we're known for. And any other questions or comments? I have a motion from Kara and a second from Paul. All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? All right, well, a big thanks to Dr. Lanigan. We really appreciate our local researchers. They really have been the backbone of our work for a long time, and this will be really good work in Basin that will help inform a lot of efforts moving forward. So I look forward to seeing that happen. All right. Our next item is new business, which we have none. So we're gonna move on to something I've been really excited about, which is our presentation from now. So
Oh,
we'll turn time for you. I've been excited for this.
hope I don't let y'all down.
And I'm gonna go to, where are you at? Oh,
It should be open.
You can do the charter.
Yeah.
update.
Did I skip it?
Move that
Stakeholder
down.
engagement group.
Well, I'm trying to move it. This is a squirrely here.
Yeah, the math sucks.
All things that I don't know how to run about.
Yeah, that's
You just hit-
next, that's number 7.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's under the communication subcommittee report.
Charter updates then.
I got it from you.
Yeah, we'll cover it as part of that.
Oh, yeah, that might,
There.
yeah, that's perfect. Yep,
You don't have a water joke, do you?
no jokes. No jokes, Paul. This is serious stuff.
It was
Come on.
Steve Robichon, and
Oh,
it's just an expectation we have.
Okay.
All of our research.
I'll know next time. Yeah, what are we doing? I'm talking about the monthly pumping data, some interesting analysis that we thought was worth showing to you guys, that might spur some further discussion on conservation and, future, ideas around conservation and what sort of, where do we go from here? So this is, there we go. It's short, it's meant to be more of a discussion than a presentation, so feel free to jump in if you have questions or comments or heckling the presenter. So this is a good place to start, I thought, because this is kind of what, I was actually looking at the monthly pumping data for completely different reason, and I thought these were interesting, and so that's kind of what spurred the rest of the analysis. So this is the monthly pumping from 1997 to 2022 for all of the different entities. The scale is in millions of gallons, and they're all different. They're all at different scales. So obviously Pullman and Moscow are pumping way more than Palouse, for example. So don't get too confused by that. But I like this overview because it really shows nicely the seasonal cycle. We have these huge pumping peaks in the summers, and then it kind of goes back to a baseline for all of the entities. There's kind of this baseline level in the winter months. And the other thing that kind of stood out to me on this was these sort of step changes. You can really see it in the UI data and the WSU data. This sort of step changes in the baseline pumping values where something was implemented in the water, and those this is where I have no knowledge of what the systems are doing, the pumping are doing, but this is where people who know about that stuff can potentially look at this and be like, okay, this corresponds to this change that we made. So that's sort of the usefulness potentially of some of this stuff. So if you zoom in, maybe something's wrong. Oh, can you just click on it? Yeah. Okay. So, yep. Now leave it alone. Yeah. So if you just zoom in on a couple of years, this happens to be the Moscow data, but they all of the entities kind of look like this. You'll notice that the June, it's that peak is the June, July, August, and September months. And it turns out those 4 months are about 50%, almost exactly 50% of the annual pumping. And that's true for all of the entities. So it makes a really nice summer, winter kind of division that we have. So for June, July, August, and September, that's 50% of the annual pumping, and the other 8 months are the other 50% of our annual pumping. And this again shows nicely that sort of winter baseline. And the summer seasons are there's a lot more variability in that, of course, due to a hot, dry year versus a cool, damp summer, for example. So the next slides plots I'm going to show are just summing up the winter data and looking at the long term, since 1997, the 25-year trends of just the winter, and then looking at those same trends for the summer. So these are the different entities for the winter. So each year is a sum for the winter data. So each year has one data point, and this is a % change from the 1997 value. So these are all comparable to each other as a percent change. So there's Pullman, Palouse, Moscow, UI, and WSU. The Pullman and Palouse have basically no real trend. But the other entities do have these really nice, robust, they're statistically significant, and you can see that they're robust through the whole 25-year period.
Lana, help me understand how you define trend.
It goes down.
Well.
The line goes down.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially the static water level.
The baseline.
Oh, it's a pump. No, this is
These
the
are
number, the
pumping.
amount of pumping, the millions of gallons pumped as a sum for the whole winter, for those 8 months. Yep. And that's
This is different than our,
they all start at 0. And that's 1997, because there's no change from that year. And then it's just a percent change from that initial number to 2022 in millions of gallons.
Using 1997 as a base.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So and you can, the percent trends are shown on the right-hand side of each, and then the number of gallons is there. So like Moscow has a decreasing trend of 0.67% per year, and that's about 3 million gallons per year. You can see UI does really well. I assume that's the water reclamation system.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Yep, so UI kind of stands out as being the best. It has decreased the pumping the most by far of all the entities.
And this is just winter, so this is just.
Yep, only winter, so it's.
Isolates the baseline.
Yeah, and that I kind of consider that maybe, I'm not sure if this is true, but it kind of seems like that's indicative of indoor conservation use.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask, with the Pullman and Palouse, we see, a few outliers here. Removing the outliers, would those actually be, on those post 2020? Create that statistical significance?
No, for Pullman, 2021 and 2022 are high. Even when you take those out, it's basically a flat trend.
Yeah, the only other thing I might preface and add to it, and I know sometimes Steve's charts show this population growth. So,
good.
I think like Pullman's had a greater population growth.
Yeah,
comparatively. So it would be hard for these, I assume these numbers don't consider that.
Nope, but you're previewing my next slides. So good job. So here's what the summer trends look like. So they are also mostly decreasing. These are all statistically significant trends, meaning they're real trends. But you can see there's a lot more variability, as you would expect. That's all due to how the weather changes the summer irrigation season. Yeah.
Good for Palouse.
Yeah, but even Palouse with their small amount, 0.2 million.
Conservation program over there.
I think they went through that effort a few years ago, finding leaks, and I think that really helped. They had a lot of water leaks on their system.
Leaks, yeah.
And a reminder too, that 2021 was basically the driest year in the last 50 years, 40, 50 years. So 2021 was high for all of these. You can see it in Moscow, that's a high year. Again, UI kind of shows the nicest decrease, and Pullman shows this slight increasing trend, which is sort of the anomaly of everybody's sort of decreasing except for the Pullman one. And so this just,
Should we freeze up things?
it's frozen.
Mike, you might have to wiggle the mouse.
Thank you. There we go. It's just slow. So this just summarizes all those trends. So the annual, so there's the summer and then the winter and then the annual trends. And so they're all negative, which is great. They're all decreasing. And these are all, again, really robust, nice trends, which so it this was surprising to me. I guess, maybe it shouldn't have been, but I wasn't quite aware of the good news, basically, that it's, it's a good trend that we're on. So like Kara mentioned, despite Pullman's slight positive trend, Pullman has had a higher population increase. So this is the per capita trend. So it's a little bit difficult to interpret per capita trends because both cities have big university populations. So it's a little, don't get too hung up on the actual numbers, but no matter which way you cut it, it's still decreasing per capita. So just the numbers here are in gallons per person per day of pumping since 1997. So Pullman, and so if you do the population of Pullman and the Pullman and WSU pumping numbers together, that's a 31% decrease per capita over those 25 years. So that's good. Again, good news.
Tyler, what year did U of I start doing their, wastewater reuse for your?
That system was installed in the 70s, Kara.
Oh, is that old? Okay. I
and
didn't
yeah.
find that.
So the system was installed in the 70s. The use was expanded through the 80s into the 90s. But yeah, the system was installed and broadly used on a lot of the green space starting in the 70s.
All right.
The first reuse system.
One of the first ones in the Northwest. Yep. Maybe the first one in the Northwest. I still haven't been able to verify that, but yeah, it was really early.
Okay, so just sort of, that's kind of it, but zooming out to just look at all of the whole basin, annual pumping for all of the entities all together, the overall change from 1998 looks like this. So that's a 0.65% decrease per year. So that's a 16% decrease over 25 years. So we've saved since 1998, 400, and that's equivalent to 440 million gallons. And just for context, in the supplemental, the alternatives, they all have conservation components, all of the alternatives do. And the supplemental supply target for those includes various levels of conservation, but the highest level is a 10% conservation over 50 years. So just sort of putting that 16% into context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of it. I don't know. Okay.
There you go.
Basically, this is just sort of my overview. One, that's great, conservation efforts have been working, but obviously at some point you kind of flatten out. So my question to everybody, to you guys who know a lot more about this stuff than me is, how much more can be done? Where are we at sort of in that curve of decreasing conservation? And in the 2017 Anchor QA report, which might be a good place to start, they have the conservation action summary, which is this. It's in the appendix, and it has all of these conservation measures listed with estimates of water savings. And obviously we've already done some of these, so maybe this is a good place to start some discussions about, where do we focus, what's been least effective, where do we focus conservation efforts next, what's easy, what's hard at this point, what's cheap, what's expensive, that kind of thing. That's sort of what I thought some of this data can help us get that discussion going. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Comments?
That's really helpful. I think it's interesting to see, that baseline isolated. I think that's a good communication tool to help show people, get encouraged when they say, hey, this is working. And like isolating out the irrigation, I think is an effective tool.
Hey, Mike, could you go back to the eye chart at the end? Please.
The mouse release.
Yeah, that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Don't know if I can,
Go to the top.
somewhere there's gotta be a.
Yep. Okay.
Right above the word design.
Thank you.
There.
That's right.
Oh, here, I'll scroll through.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think PBAC might support.
by
Getting a new mouse.
That's amazing.
this,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how
this,
you've cataloged all that.
They did that. That's from Anchor
Who did
QA.
that?
Anchor, that's it, the Anchor QA report.
Yep.
Mhm, that's in that
I don't
report.
remember that.
Oh, it's been a minute.
It's been.
Yeah,
There's
I
like
think it-
three
it
pages,
looks
there's like three
they-
pages.
It looks like they pulled info from the different municipalities'
did.
water
Yeah.
system plans,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
each will have a chapter devoted to, water use efficiency.
Patient. Yeah. Cool.
I thought it was interesting, I like that you broke out the winter months and the summer months. And I know you mentioned the 16%, decrease over the last however many years this was. I think it's interesting when you talk about indoor and you talk about what kind of conservation measures are most effective. I mean, it does look like there were some trends in the indoor usage decreasing some, but it was much smaller magnitudes. I mean, it's really the outdoor usage that's it's the area where we have the most opportunity to lose the most or to drop the most, depending on
Well, kind of, 'cause the trends are actually high, the decreasing trends are actually higher in the winter.
Right, but well, maybe. I guess what I'm saying, you talk about 50% of the usage being in those months. I mean, I think one way to look at it is how much of that big bell curve can we carve out and say, we really don't need to use that much.
For sure, yeah,
I
but
don't
the
know.
winter,
It would be interesting. Maybe these were the 16% that you said at the end included all the months, was my understanding, right?
yep, that's everything,
Okay.
yep.
So maybe, if this, I don't know what these averaged out to together for the winter months. Was it like 2% of the total 16%? Do you see what I'm asking?
Back to the spreadsheet thing. Yeah, that one. Oh, no. That. For winter, the total is on the order of 5%.
Okay.
Yeah, a little more than 5% actually. But I agree that summer is it's an obvious target because yes, in those 4 months, we're pumping as much in the 8 months of the rest of the year. So, if you kind of think about it per month, every June, July, and August and September pumps on average twice as much as all the other months, as each of the other months.
Yeah.
So yeah, summer is a big target. I agree. And we don't need grass
Well, I
everywhere.
mean, how are we gonna get those calories if we're not eating Kentucky bluegrass? I mean, we gotta think about replacing those.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you.
So-
Will this slide deck can you make this available? Is that something you can share?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Perfect. Mike, can you send that slide deck out to everybody?
Yeah, if you send me that, I'll
Yeah.
distribute it.
Great. Thank you very much.
So real
Was there a
quick-
question online? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Here. So, that's not just residential, that's industry as well. Water use.
Yep, it's by the entity, so wherever it's going from the entity,
Yeah, that's comprehensive, Nathan.
yes.
So, yeah, I'm, trying to think of what industries might use water more in Pullman. During winter, we have SEL, these sorts of things. I'm not sure about Moscow. So I'm trying to tease it out because, while it does sound like positive, I think for U of I, WSU and Moscow, doesn't make me feel very positive as in Pullman. So I'm trying to tease out, do you have the raw data at all?
Oh, yeah.
I think it might be a little misleading because of the population. I'd be happy to sit down with you, and our latest water system plan that's with the Department of Health right now has a pretty detailed analysis of the different types of usages. And the numbers that go into that are these same numbers that it's just they break it out by like water meter type. So you can parse quite a bit more out from our water system plan.
Yeah, I'm kind of a data nerd, so I'm kind of interested also in the raw data and kind of being able to look at some of that. I do feel It was a little surprising because I know the 2020. Sorry, my dog's next to me. The data from the 2022, 2023 maybe a little bit more simplified for Pullman, but kind of spoke towards the possibility of policy being effective, at least for outdoor watering. So I did want to kind of mention that may be a good way of moving forward, but I think I'd like to understand the data a little bit more. So maybe Carrie, you and I can sit down and talk about it a little bit more. Like I said, just a little bit surprised, especially from the Pullman side. So, but got to put my ego aside and just kind of look at what do the numbers say. So appreciate that.
Great, Carrie, if you need any support on getting any data that y'all want, for sure, let Mike know and we'll get whatever you need over to you.
Yeah, I mean, Lana, if you want to send the raw data, but I see the pumping reports that come from Pullman to PBAC, and I know that those aren't typically broken out by meter type. It's usually like total amount pumped from each well, and then it gets tabulated and summarized. But we have lots and lots of data. I'd be happy to nerd out with you, Nathan.
And Steve, that data just came from Steve. So Steve is he's the raw data guru on that pumping data.
I don't want to speak for Steve, but Kara, that's probably the monthly pumping report that guy sends us.
Great. Any other questions or comments about these numbers or the presentation?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was really
Cool.
insightful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 7, which is our subcommittee reports. My first report in this category is that we have a executed, signed interstate agreement and bylaws. It is done. Thank you all. That was
All parties.
Yep, all parties, all signed, everything's done. So that is now being sent down. We've got to send it down to the state of Idaho requires us to send it to the state attorney general. But that is signed, sealed, and delivered. So thank you all for that. We knew it was gonna be a slog. It was a slog, but we got through the slog, so
It wasn't as sloggy as
we made it.
last time.
Yeah.
Well, it took over a year, Paul.
No, that's not sloggy.
Yeah. When you get, this many entities, we knew it was gonna be fun. So thank you all. We'll get a copy, a fully executed copy signed out to everybody so that y'all have that. We've included the new signed bylaws as an addendum to that document, so we don't have everything necessary there. All right, Mike, you want to touch on entity invoices?
You know, that's a great segue because now that the new agreement is executed that has the new invoice amounts, the invoices will be sent out pretty quick. So
keep an eye out for those,
we're
please.
now ready to do that. Usually they're sent out in July, but they'll be sent out in September this year. Yep. So watch for those.
Keep doing the work. All right, budget subcommittees. We have a budget subcommittee report today, Mike.
Rusty's out of town all week.
Okay.
You had indicated you might want to vote on the budget.
Yeah, did everybody get an opportunity to look at the budget? It was sent out. It's what we discussed at the previous
It's a real
meeting.
high level version. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee members have. This was, well, I could talk about why it's delayed, but this is where we are. And these are the best assumptions we have today. And I want to point out that the version that I sent out to the committee, a couple of days ago, did make an assumption of the payment for Dr. Langman's project. So that's in the totals.
Any other questions for Mike regarding the budget? And I would entertain a motion for approval then.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion from Lara.
I'll second that.
I've got a second from Sean. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got a pause order for the Zoom folks. Okay. then our budget will stand approved for this fiscal year. Communications, Mr. Kimmel?
Yes, thank you. We did meet earlier this week, Tuesday, focusing on preparing for the kickoff stakeholder engagement group meeting next Thursday, yeah.
The 26th.
Mhm.
26th, yeah. Again, the bulk of the meeting was just focused on updating the SIG charter. So just making it more current, and then making sure we got lots of invites out. I think it'll be good. We crafted out an agenda where we'll just kind of do a high level intro of the organization, history, talk a little bit about the charter, purpose, expectations of the SEG members, pretty low level commitment, but still. The whole point of this was to really build third-party stakeholders and advocacy as we move forward with a project like we're talking about. And then we'll get into how often are we going to meet. You know, we talked maybe quarterly, but we'll just kind of be pretty flexible there. So that was good.
Can I, just on that, Paul, we did circulate the updated SEG charter. And that is something that we do need a motion from this committee on to approve the charter for the SEG. Open the floor to any questions or comments on that document, and if none, for a motion to approve the updated SEG charter.
Should walk through summarize the changes.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't read it.
Can you pull it up or
Yeah,
or not? That's fine.
a lot of the updates, if you compare document to document, are just in the verbiage. It says, a lot of it says the same thing, but just with some updated language. We tried to take out some passive voice and make it a little less wordy. The representation of the groups is consistent. We just cleaned that up a little bit. We had a few that were redundant in the previous document. It had called out it had specifically called out quarterly meetings in the previous version, and we didn't want to tie ourselves to quarterly meetings because it's when we're getting a group like this together, we felt it was more important that we have meat on the bone instead of just frequency. So we thought quality was more important than frequency, and so we updated that portion of the document. Let's see, other significant.
Added a few different entities for as representation.
The duration used to call out a specific duration. We just left that open-ended in this document so that there's not a set duration for the engagement. We had a few areas where it called specifically out individuals like the PBAC chair or the PBAC vice chair or the PBAC executive director. We removed those and just put PBAC so that it could just be any member of the committee. It's the committee's interaction with the SEG. We also had some language about the role of IDWR and DOE as it relates to the SEG that was somewhat restrictive in the way that it was written. It basically implied in the previous document that those entities that the SEG would review any proposals with those entities to assure compliance before submittal to the committee. We felt like that needed to be reworded because the committee is going to be working hand in glove with the SEG throughout that process. I think those are the major changes. Mike, am I missing anything?
No.
Paul, anything you can think of that I haven't hit?
No, just Sean, for your edification, this was largely driven out of an order from the director for Idaho Water Resources, where there were a number of groups locally that felt like PBAC wasn't engaging well with the community. And so what came out of that was the Citizen Advisory Group, CAG. And that lasted for probably, Steve, correct me, maybe 6-ish years. But it kind of waned, lost focus, et cetera. So during that time, we were able to discuss with the agency. PBAC would develop a strategic communication plan and had set some real targets around outreach and engagement. And part of that was the summit, obviously, and then also at some future date, develop a stakeholder engagement group. So long story short, that's partly the impetus of this. But as we develop these kinds of high ticket, large water projects, we really want to build that third party advocacy, understanding and engagement.
Any other questions? All right, with that, I would entertain a motion of approval for the new stakeholder engagement group charter.
I would make that motion.
I've got a motion.
Second.
I've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The new stakeholder engagement charter stands approved. Thanks everyone who worked on that. Really appreciate going through that process. It was good to get that updated and ready to go. Paul, you have anything else for communication?
No, thanks.
Thanks.
Did you want to talk about the graphics, Paul? The Police Discovery Science Center?
Yeah. So we've got some here. So our former AmeriCorps volunteer, Jocelyn, was able to work with the Police Discovery Science Center on installing some permanent visuals around the basin. And so we worked with a firm out of Spokane that Vista works with a lot, Helvetica. And so they took our infographics that we had from, what's the company out of? Fuse Columbia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sort of repurpose that. So we have some beautiful permanent displays now at the Police Discovery Science Center, really talking about conservation at that sort of that fourth grade level, which is really where we need to be talking anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's where most of us are at.
I know.
It's where I live.
I wasn't looking at you.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's super exciting. We got some nice media out of it. There was a nice story.
There's good coverage.
The Daily News and the Tribune. So really well done. If you haven't been out to the Science Center, please take a look. It's right outside the bathroom and the water fountain. It's just a perfect setting.
Love that
So,
map.
thank you.
Love that.
That's great. And our speaker at the Water Summit should be pleased, given his book and the way that kind of plays off of that.
Yeah.
So that's great. Paul, did you want to mention the Water Summit now?
I'd be happy to again. It's a little earlier this year, but coincidentally, when we had Stephen Leahy here in 2015, it was on October 1st as well. So, but we had some facility challenges. SEL Event Center wasn't available for the rest of the month, so we had to land on the first. That worked for Stephen. So again, he's done great things since he wrote the book in 2014, I think. But has won some international environmental awards for his journalism, but he's got some great messaging around water conservation, water awareness. And so really the theme of this one is around water conservation. And again, taking what we saw at the quarterly breakfast from the 4 major pumping entities, I think there's a lot of good news to share there.
Yeah.
And so we'll focus on that. We'll also get a National Weather Service update forecast. Are we a La Nina this year? I think we're a La Nina. Not sure how strong, but that's a good thing.
I do stuff.
We've got, gosh, who is it? Mike Faupel, I think is gonna do the State of the Basin. Is that you, Mike?
He's got jokes. Don't you worry, he's got jokes.
Well, I'm having to really filter my jokes, but we'll come up with something appropriate.
And then we have potentially someone in the room, but Mike Wood from the Idaho Water Resource Research Institute. IWERI is their outreach director. He's just going to introduce himself. IWERI has sort of been reinvented. So we're going to give them a couple minutes at the microphone, and then potentially Lucine might talk a little bit about the work that she just completed, part of her dissertation. Would you share a little bit?
Yeah, I just completed my PhD at UMI in water resources, and my research was on life cycle assessment and techno-economic analysis of wastewater, biological integrated wastewater treatment with reactive filtration. I work with Professor Greg Muller. And yeah, if that's of any interest, I would be happy to share.
Yeah, and Greg's been a speaker a number of times, so it's always good. So, yeah, and selfishly, the scene as well as Marina, our Waters of the West scholars and my company funds
Thank
A
you
little.
again for that.
Yeah, so we want to highlight Waters of the West a little bit too. I mean, again, there's a lot of good stuff
A lot of
going
good
on in the
stuff
basin.
happening. Yep,
So, but anyway,
wonderful.
so we'll have a full agenda. And of course, we've got the effervescent Robin Nimmer as our MC. Oh, man, she's always got a good smile. So we're excited. We've got a couple Water Advocate Awards to give out. We can't reveal that today, sorry. But good selections on those.
So just a reminder, that is open to the public. Encourage anybody you know to come. It's a lot of fun. Refreshments, beer and wine. It's a good time. Get drunk and listen about water. Don't get drunk. Just have fun. Just have fun. All right, our technical subcommittee did not meet this month. Under other remote reports and announcements.
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
quick question.
okay.
Did we ever get a second follow? We were supposed to get a second follow-up from Woods Hole.
We've not,
Okay, yeah, I just,
there was a delay, and I know that Jeff Langman has been in contact with them,
okay,
but, I'm learning that it's sometimes with geology, they don't get in a hurry.
This is why his jokes aren't gonna land. That was pretty good, Mike. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yeah.
There you go.
Geologic time joke. Wow.
I did that.
Yeah, that was
myself.
really
I
good.
did.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I very much appreciated that.
But, I'll just throw it out there for this group. I have told people that occasionally PBAC moves at the speed of geology.
Well, maybe have Steve phone in with the joke.
All right, well, that was my trial balloon, so there you go.
You want to give everyone an update, Mike, on the Dr. Bush's presentation?
Yeah, this is pretty exciting, I think, to a pretty large subset of us. Dr. Bush is emeritus professor at University of Idaho. I know that Robin is a former student, and there may be some other former students, but he seems extremely highly regarded. I know he still thinks about Palouse geology and hydrology a lot. He not too long ago did a series of YouTube videos for us, and he just a few weeks ago, he actually pointed us towards an exciting road cut that we might be investigating soon from a geology perspective.
is that on the new highway?
It's on the south of town.
Yeah.
But Dr. Bush will be in town, and he will be providing a special presentation sponsored by PBAC. And we're happy to have him visit with us. So the title is Granite Well Reports, the Last Key to the Palouse Basin Puzzle.
Great.
I
So
don't really know what that means, but I'm gonna find out.
everybody's welcome, and
So there'll be more announcements about that, and then we'll do outreach to the academic folks on both sides of the state line.
perfect. All right, our next meeting is Thursday, October 21st. Incredible that we're.
Is that right?
Is our date
My
wrong?
calendar says.
No,
The 23rd,
the 24th is a Thursday, or the 17th is a Thursday, but not the 21st.
17th.
Yeah.
Terrible at
The
dates. Don't
17th
ask
should
me
be it.
ever.
Looks like we had a calendar faux pas.
I
All
wake
right.
up in the morning, I look at my calendar.
October 17th is going to be
It's
the meeting.
17th, thank you.
Updated.
Did we hear a little bit from the newest hydrogeologist in the room?
Yeah, we'd absolutely
Maybe a
love to.
little bit more from Marina and the work she is under.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That put you on the spot.
It does. Stay was yesterday.
Well, okay, well, they told you that we expect a song on your first time attending PBAC, right?
Yes.
I'll go to two next.
All right, we'll accept hydrogeology in lieu of a song.
Yeah, I think the things that Robin has initiated me with is mostly the Bunker Hill Superfund site, which I actually did a little bit of work on in my undergraduate here at U of I. I worked with Jeff Langman actually studying the lower basin of the Columbia River. And so that's something that I'm excited to continue to work on and do more than I was able to do in my studies.
Excellent.
I know that there are a lot of other projects that I'll just be working on, but
in the police basin, and then she'll be doing the data monitor downloads.
Oh,
she will.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle kind of flaked out on us.
Yeah.
Well,
He got busy.
Oh, you haven't been in the conversation. Kyle has not flaked out.
Is he over in Montana?
He's in Kellogg's office.
Oh, he's Kellogg.
Yeah.
He's working. Okay.
Great. Well,
He
welcome.
works all over, but.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Yeah. Come back. We don't scare you off.
Yeah, I am a master's student in my first year, and right now I'm looking at drinking water contamination. It's actually in Central Asia and Uzbekistan, looking at from agriculture and irrigation canals and how that has reduced the quantity and quality of the water, and looking at mostly like a health risk assessment, but a lot of that can be applied to similar locations where anywhere there's agriculture or irrigation canals. So that's what I'm working on right now. And working with folks that do Bunker Hills and feedback on that.
Wow. Well, thanks for coming. Hopefully, we hope to see you all.
Yeah.
Many times. And have a song next time, please. All right, does anyone have anything else before we adjourn? Eileen?
Is there an update or any further plans on the colloquium?
Our plan for the colloquium, we wanted to make sure with the researchers that we had, again, something meaningful to engage with. And so our plan is to get the SOQ out and get a consultant selected and then re-engage with colloquium as we're scoping, because we thought that that would be a really good time to loop those folks in and engage with them as we're doing the scoping process. So I would guess that that's going to be probably sometime early next year that we'll re-engage the research colloquium. Anything else?
Tyler, I just wanted to apologize for coming in late during the presentation at the meeting today. We were WSU was releasing a screech owl at the Nature Center today, and we had a lot of media here, and so I needed to be present to talk to everybody.
Well, hey, that sounds like a good reason. Thanks for coming, Tom. We appreciate you getting on when you could.
Yeah.
Can you do the presentation again?
All right.
Come up with a bunch more questions.
Anybody else have anything? All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn then. Thank you, everybody.
Cool.
Thanks, Tyler.
Send him to Judy. Okay.
So it'll be,
Yeah, the more good news we can put out there, the better.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, yeah. Well, it's just sort of my, as a politician, as a recovering politician and a propagandist. I mean, it's mattering of good news that we can put out.
Okay.
We're supposed to know that we can balance. Just more this daily. Because we hear it every day. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody knows the thing. Nobody's doing anything. Your data is so